the Primarchs keep coming in. What a glorious time to be alive. Welcome on in if this is your first time into the channel, and welcome back, members of the chapter. In this action figure review, we are going to be taking a look at the Crimson King, and without further ado, let's get to the unboxing. I apologize for the interruption of this action figure review, but I wanted to bring a word from our sponsor, which is JoyToy. JoyToy has an excellent user interface. Right up top here, you can see where all the bread and butter of the Warhammer 40k saga is. If you are interested in buying a Primarch, you can click one right now and it will take you directly to the page where the Primarch is located. If you are interested in only Warhammer 40k action figures, with a click of a button, you are brought to every single one of the Warhammer 40k action figures that have been released to date. And if you're also interested in Horus Heresy, once again, the action figures are just a click of a button away. And there you go. Not only does JoyToy have an excellent user interface, they can get these action figures to your doorstep, sometimes within 4 to 10 days in the United States. And if you do purchase an action figure from JoyToy, do not forget to use the code SNS to receive 12% off of your purchase. And without further ado, let's get back to the review. Judging a librarian tome by its proverbial cover, I've always found the aesthetic of Magnus to be a little bit odd. Yes, I am aware that JoyToy does not have any say with regard to how this action figure looks. However, clearly the Thousand Sons are based off of Old Egypt. The problem is, Magnus is like this weird amalgamation of ancient Egypt, but has a look predominantly of an American Indian chieftain, especially with this area right here. I guess I would have appreciated the design a little bit more if GW stuck with the Egyptian side of things, just like the rest of the Thousand Sons. Now, with regards to this headdress area, clearly he is pulling off two tall off-white horns that tower above his head. The horns are rather ornate with different designs over here that are engraved in the plastic and boast blue metallic gemstones. There is a smaller headdress here that is gold and ties in neatly with the rest of the Thousand Sons lineup, except that Daddy Magnus sports alternating metallic blue and purple stripes, whereas this Legion Praetor here has gold and black stripes. Magnus's hair is truly a being unto itself in that it is a very large red mane whose locks of red hair are heavily shaded to give more definition to the hair strands. I will get to this part falling off to the side in a second. There is also the presence of a golden mask that cradles his face ever so lovingly. Also, the eye of the Crimson King is a stark white that contrasts brilliantly with the red of his skin and the gold of his mask. Now, the single pauldron on the left side of Magnus is a truly spicy piece of armor because it is so ornate looking, with an eye whose pupil has a 15 that is engraved onto it. Then surrounding that eye is half a Thousand Sons chapter symbol right here, and then the eye turns really spicy with purple warp flames that make the area look like it has a raging eye infection. The twin stoles that run down from Magnus's shoulder down to his thigh sports a bunch of Egyptian-like hieroglyphs that are raised from the base of the plastic. I just wanted to illustrate to you that the hieroglyphs on each stole is exactly the same. Then dangling down from the pauldron is what I'm going to say is a cookbook of sorcerer spells. I'm really liking the golden designs, but I'm a little perplexed as to why there seems to be a Space Wolf's head that is eclipsing the Thousand Sons logo. Is this somehow alluding to the eventual fate and doom of Prospero? So with regards to the arm, I believe that this is the first time JoyToy has done flesh on arms on a Primarch or a Space Marine for that matter. I'll have to say that the flesh looks fairly realistic minus the red tone. You can see the bulging manly biceps of Magnus that has veins that are running everywhere. The sinews on the arm are brought out by the presence of this shading right here. There are also bracers on the forearm of Magnus that have an interesting combination of a metallic purple and gold color. Now these braces are soft plastic and can be removed from the forearms by taking off the hands of Magnus, as I just showed you right there. And speaking of hands,
JoyToy does give you a wide variety of open fists, open palms, as well as another hand to grip the staff, which is excellent for added posability. With regard to the chest area, there's an extreme amount of decoration in this area with very prominent metallic red scarab right here that is smack dab in the middle of the armor, or I believe is otherwise called the horned raiment. Then there are these broad wings that extend out from the scarab. What's really interesting to me is that there's almost like this burnt metallic shading that is between the wings and the swirl type of design. This subtle note and tone really helps the armor stand out compared to, say, the flat golden armor of Rogel Dorn. The torso area has a lot more decoration than your average Space Marine. You can see that there's this terracing effect, and it is further accentuated by this gunmetal outlining here on the bottom of the armor. Plus, what is really a little bit tasty is that there's these textured cables that run from the waist all the way up to the chest area. And now that we are on the waist area, this belt buckle right here is something truly awesome to behold. The buckle is that of a Thousand Suns sun with a scarab at the center of it. Radiating out from the scarab are some blue gems that break up the gold expanse that is on the waist. One slight critique of this area is that it seems a little bit too gold, and the figure relies on the texturing provided by the 3D print of the plastic to make it stand out. Would have liked it if JoyToy put some shading in the grooves of these wings right here. Aside from that, there are more hieroglyphs here, or perhaps the dark tongue that dominates this tabard area. And beneath this tabard area is another longer white one that has a blazing red sun symbol. And then flanking the waist are these two armor plates that seem a little bit flimsy, so you'll need to be careful not to rip these plates off. With the legs, straight off the bat, I'm going to say that these manly legs are quite sexy looking. There is so much texturization that is happening with the diagonal stripes coupled with this horizontal area, and I think that this area could have been brought further to life with a little bit more shading, but this is still pretty spicy. The shin area is literally a sexy piece of art. I can't remember a shin that I'm attracted to aside from the one that Magnus sports. I love how these horns are bursting out from the knee area, and these horns are centered between a Thousand Suns logo right here, as well as an eye. The logo and the eye are then cradled by this wing scarab, and you can also see that there are these gunmetal rays that emanate from the eye and the Thousand Suns logo. There is literal spice at the bottom of the legs with fire, plus there is an addition of these blue hieroglyphs on the side right here. Dare I say, this is the most flavorful legs that I've ever seen. Now, the top of the cape is made of this thicker but yet semi-flexible plastic. You can also see alternating bands of blue and purple. The feathers in this region are truly a wonder to be seen. There's a metallic silver sheen that blends in with the turquoise tops of the feathers. These feathers are flexible, and they seem like they're fairly loosely attached. When you flip the feathers up, you're greeted with these psychedelic warp-like metallic colors with green, turquoise, and a gunmetal color. It kind of reminds me of a Lord of Change. However, like I said, this is truly fragile, as this unfortunately got popped out from this area, so you'll need to be careful with it. The rest of the cape is quite bold with red textured embroidery on the outside, coupled with the Thousand Suns symbol evenly interspersed between the red. Unlike the outer part of the cape, the inner part unfortunately is a dull muted brown color with no character or flavor. And now let's talk about the blade of An Ninurta. The top of this force weapon is modeled off an Egyptian khopesh, although it has been heavily modified. You can see that the edge of the blade is serrated and then migrates down to a gold color and then finishes off with a burnt metal backbone. Migrating down, the staff gives way to a spiraled handled area with highlights at the highest areas of the wrapping. The staff then ends with an icon that is weirdly reminiscent of the symbol of Tzeentch. Perhaps is this a portent of things to come? Now, Magnus comes with two lengths of what I'm going to call it warp flame. Now, these warp flames are made of a soft plastic, and it obviously is a dark pink color with some light pink over here that is interspersed in the flames. I'll have to say that these flames look a little bit weird when they're solid colored like this. I think that the flame aesthetic would have been better if this was made probably of like a pink translucent plastic. The longer warp flame can be made to appear to be shot out from Magnus's outstretched hands. The three headed ends can be wrapped around the hands and wrist of Magnus. I personally think that this long stream looks a little bit awkward, almost like a stream of barf for some odd reason. I, however, like the smaller warp flame because it looks more aesthetically pleasing. Use the 3 legs of the flame to wrap around Magnus's fingers, which gives off a look of a pure sorcerer at the height of his game. Now let's talk about the movement of Magnus. The head is seriously restricted by this entity that is called Magnus's hair. 360 degrees of motion is not achievable unless if there's a high amount of finagling that I'm doing like this and you end up popping off his head. You can tilt the head slightly up and down, very minimally, and then slightly left and right just because of these locks of hair right here. The arms, on the other hand, have full 360 degrees of uninhibited motion about the shoulder joint, which is awesome. The forearm also has 360 degrees of motion, as you can see here. The elbow region is double jointed, which allows for an awesome range of motion. So you can bend once here and then bend again over here. The wrist can also be rotated 360 degrees. And if you pop this off, this sports your larger than average ball and socket joint. The chest to torso region can be rotated 360 degrees with a little bit of work. I'm going to show you right here. The torso to waist region has a full 360 degree of motion. The hip to leg area is very limber with more 360 degrees of motion, as you saw right there. The thigh region has full 360 degrees of motion as well. The knees are double jointed like the elbow and has a little bit more than 90 degrees of movement. This is the maximum it can go. The ankle joint can be rotated 360 degrees. However, there needs to be some force that has to be put into it. And the ankle, like the other Primarchs, can wobble back and forth and has this kind of stabilizing ability about the toe area. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about this action figure being quite fragile. As I pointed out before, I was kind of flipping up this area just to see what it looked like, and this area kind of popped out. It can be easily super glued, so you need to be a little bit careful. Same thing with this pauldron area. It can be easily slotted in like this. However, obviously this is not supposed to come off right here. You can easily glue this in. And with regards to the hands, they're very pliable, and it's very, very easy actually to get the weapon to fit inside of the hand. There is absolutely no finagling that needs to happen, so this is excellent work right here. And now here is everybody's favorite part, the size comparison. So we have the Blade Master off on the left hand side, and the Blade Master only comes up to what, Magnus's waist. This just goes to show you exactly how tall this monstrous Primarch is. And then on the right hand side we have the Legion Praetor in Cataphracti armor, and he stands a little bit taller than the Blade Master and comes up probably around the torso area of Magnus. Thank you for joining me in this review. Time to wrap this bad boy up. Wow, Magnus is an absolute spectacle to behold, in my opinion. He probably does not command the same presence as Horus does. However, I think he actually looks better than Rogeldorn as well as Leman Russ. He's got the horn raiment that has a bunch of colors, a lot of designs that really make this armor stand out and really catches your attention. I love the blade of Annunurta just because of the serrated edges on this force weapon, and the warp flame that he is carrying in his hands is just absolutely badass, and only he can pull it off. Now, there are a few critiques that I have with Magnus with regards of movement. I would have to say that in general, the range of motion is actually quite phenomenal. However, the lack of range of motion on the head is a little bit constricting in my opinion, just because of the red locks of hair. But I really do like the flexibility of the hands. It's not so loose that it doesn't grip the weapon, but it's not so tough that you can't get the hands open. You do, however, need to be a little bit careful, as I said during the review, with regards to the various parts, especially the pauldron. It's probably going to come off if you are a little bit too forceful, as well as the feathered portion of the cape. So if you are not yet subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing, because I specialize in all Warhammer 40k action figures as well as Horus Heresy action figures, and distill them down to excruciating detail. Members of the chapter, thank you so much for watching this action figure review. You guys are phenomenal. I love all the comments that you put in the comments section, the likes, as well as just watching these videos to the end. It means so much to me, as well as the channel. So I appreciate each and every single one of you, and I hope to see you all in the next one.